Rango had explored jungles before, but this one felt wrong. The trees stood too still, the fog too thick, like it was hiding something ancient. He stepped cautiously, ears twitching. No birds, no breeze, just the sound of his own breath, deeper in. A strange cold wrapped around him. Something in this forest was awake, and it was waiting for him. He found a clearing filled with stone markers, each carved with symbols not meant to be read by the living. The ground pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. As he stepped closer, the air grew heavy, humming with memories he didn't recognize. A cold wind passed through, and with it, a whisper, not in a language he knew, but one that sent shivers down to his bones. When Rango knelt, he noticed the earth beneath his claws was moving, slightly, rhythmically. He pressed his hand down and it sank, like flesh. The soil was warm, alive. He jerked back, eyes wide. It wasn't just the trees. The ground itself was breathing. This forest, it had lungs, and it was starting to inhale. He turned to retrace his steps, but the path was gone. The trees had shifted. Where once was trail, now twisted roots and thick fog loomed. He spun around. Everything had changed, like the jungle had rearranged itself. Rango's heart pounded. Something was playing with him, and it knew he was lost. One tree caught his eye. Its trunk was gashed open like torn skin, and from the wound, red sap flowed like blood. Carved faces screamed silently from the bark, their mouths open in agony. The faces weren't human. They were creatures like him. Some looked familiar. One looked like it was trying to whisper his name. The leaves rustled, but there was no wind. They moved like lips, and when he leaned in, they whispered, "Rango." The sound was soft at first, then louder. "Rango, Rango," over and over, from every branch, every vine. He ran, but the voices followed. The jungle didn't just know his name, it was calling him back. Hanging from a crooked branch was a dusty backpack too new to be old, too old to be recent. Inside, a notebook. The pages were stained, but clear, and the handwriting was his. Page after page, maps, thoughts, fear, words he never wrote. "Don't trust the forest, it learns," was scrawled in bold red ink. Deep within the woods, Rango heard a voice cry out, "Help, please." It was his own. Exactly his voice, his tone. He froze. Then it cried again, closer. A mimic, a ghost. He wasn't sure, but the forest was echoing his fear and throwing it back at him. He ran, but the trees closed in behind him, not falling, moving, like they walked when he wasn't looking. Vines slithered toward his legs, not fast but purposeful. They weren't grabbing, they were guiding, leading him somewhere. Rango realized he wasn't escaping, he was being delivered. Rango glanced up and froze. Above him, along the tree branches, figures walked upside down. Pale, thin creatures with hollow eyes stared at him silently. Their mouths moved, but the words came backward, like a film in reverse. They whispered things no one should hear. Not while alive. A black pool shimmered ahead, still and mirror-like. Rango peered into it and saw himself, but older, scarred, screaming, trapped behind the reflection. It clawed silently at the water's surface, begging to be freed. Behind the image, dozens more faces watched, all silent, all waiting. Suddenly, night fell like a curtain. Total black. The trees began to hum, not musical, but mechanical, broken. The sound drilled into his skull. He covered his ears. It didn't help. The noise was inside him now, like the forest had entered his mind and was pressing deeper. The fog parted, revealing a field. Scarecrows stood motionless, but they all had his face sewn, distorted, stitched with wire. One moved slightly, then another. Their heads turned slowly in his direction. Grins appeared to wide, to wrong. They weren't guarding crops, they were guarding him. At the center of the forest stood a towering tree, its bark split into ribs. Inside, human-sized bones floated gently, glowing like lanterns. As Rango approached, one skull turned toward him midair. Its mouth opened, and from it came a whisper, "You shouldn't be here." The vines around him tightened, but not violently, almost gently, like arms pulling him into an embrace. The tree opened wider, and the bone lanterns brightened. He tried to scream, but no sound came. The forest wasn't killing him, it was absorbing him. Before the darkness took him, Rango saw someone hiding behind a tree. Same face, same clothes. It was him, watching, calmly. Then it smiled, a cruel, knowing smile, and vanished. That version had already been claimed, and now it was Rango's turn. He awoke on the forest edge. Bright daylight, birds chirping, his body sore, but his fur was aged. His claws stained red. The jungle behind him looked peaceful, as if it had never moved. But he knew, it remembered, and now, so did he. Back in town, no one recognized him. Shopkeepers stared. Children avoided him, until one kid pointed and whispered, "That's the one, from the drawings." He turned. A wall mural showed his face entering the jungle. Underneath, it read, "Lost to the forest." He stared at the painting. He had never seen it before, but it captured his eyes perfectly. The same haunted stare. The background showed vines reaching for him. It wasn't painted by an artist. It felt like the jungle itself had drawn it, as a warning. That night, Rango sat by the river, trying to remember who he was in the still water. His reflection smiled without him. It leaned closer and whispered, "We remember now." The wind echoed the same. The forest hadn't let him go. It had sent him back as its voice.